Hello guys, and welcome to day 10 of this full stack modern hospital management system. So in today's video, we are going to look at the backend, and the backend specifically we'll be looking at our databases. So in our last video, we created this backend here and we structured and we saw how it will look like. So in today's video, we just want us to look at how it will connect with our database, and then we can start to do things like queries. So to start with, you need to, in our config file, your config folder here, we need to add a config file that is here. We have to add this config.ts inside here. And this is where we'll have a connection or a file that will connect to our databases. So that's what we'll be doing today. And then we just look at relational databases. We'll talk about them. And also the other thing that we'll be looking is how we can do the queries using store procedures, and we'll be looking at what are store procedures and their advantages. So if you haven't gone through the other videos, kindly go through the other videos and then come into this video so that we be in the same page. So if you haven't subscribed to this YouTube channel, kindly subscribe and like this video. And if you want to be notified if I upload other videos, kindly hit that bell icon so that you'll be notified. So without much ado, let's get into tutorial. So let's get into our tutorial now, and inside here now we need to add a file that will connect to our databases. Luckily, I had gone and I had already created that file, or I had researched and come with that file, and it is this one here. So this one will be able to connect to our databases. So let us copy everything here because I don't want us to waste a lot of time, and this is something that you can get into the internet. And this one will help us to connect with our databases, and we'll be using Mssql or SQL Server, that is Microsoft SQL Server. So let us copy and then paste it here, and you see this file here, the things that it will require. First of all, it will require the user of that database, this one here, db user, and then the other thing is that it will require the password. That password will be for the database, and the database here name, the database name, and also now you can see the server is running on localhost, meaning it will be installed in our computer. Or I have already installed, and I'm using Docker. Our Docker here is running this SQL server, and to run some queries, I'm using this Azure Data Studio. You can use it if you want, and I will be linking a video that can help you to install that SQL server and then connect with Azure Data Studio and run queries if you want, because now we can come here as our workbench and then run all queries that we want. And here we'll be running some of queries and store procedures to show you what I mean. So now you can see here we need all those, but for now, let's first of all create a database and everything. So before that, I just want to demonstrate how relational databases work. So in here, for those people who have never worked with relational databases, maybe they have worked with NoSQL server like Firebase and MongoDB. This is a good time to watch this video and to get most out of this video. So let me draw a diagram. So we'll have this and we'll call it our database. So now let me type here, this is our database. So our database here will contain a database name here. So we'll have a name for this database. For our case, we'll call it hospital, just like that. And that is the name that we'll give to our database. And again, that database can have a password. We can call that password pass1234. So just like that. So now relational databases store data in terms of tables, a table that have columns and rows. So we need to have tables. So we can have one table here, this one, this we can call it a table. Maybe this one we can call a table for the patient or patients, or maybe I can add admission because it will mean the same in our project. So we can have another table in here for users. Here we can have another table for the users here, just like that. And another thing, we can have another table here, and this table we can call it doctors, just like that. We can have doctors table here. And another thing is we can have this, let's say, another table, and we call it, let's say, appointments, because these are the tables that we'll have in our project. So here we need to have appointments. So here is appointments here as a table. So we'll have these 4 tables here. So now to do or to access the data in our table, we need to write queries. And for example, let's say I want to write a query to get all patients or admission here. What I will do, I'll just create a query, and I want to write one query that can be used to get all patients from the database. And the first thing, we'll add a query, and it will have a keyword of select, and then I can say something like select all, that asterisk means all, from use or patients, because our table is called patients. So this is telling the database to query everything from the table that has patients, that is. Or even we can specify what we need to query. We can just say something like, if it is the name and admission number, just like that, admission number. And then from the patients here, you can see we have that as our query, and it will select only names and admission from our patient, and this will return all the names and admission number. Let me call it admission number here, as this one will be columns in this patient table here. So you can create these queries just like that, but you won't dwell on this so much. And then you can even do other queries. You can go inside, you can go research more about SQL, but I feel like SQL is very, very simple. Or if you don't want to create these queries, for example, you can create other things like store procedures to query for your database, to query data from database. So store procedure are like function that you store in a database, and it will help you to query the data, but you'll be accessing store procedure rather than writing clear queries or pure queries. And it comes with a lot of advantages, like this, your database will be fast, you'll be querying your data very fast, it will be efficient, and it can do things like caching the data. So that's very important. And in here we can look at the importance or advantages of store procedures here, of store procedure, just like that. So in Mssql, and it is in every SQL server, SQL language like MySQL and Postgres. So it's something that we'll have. So you can see, even I have not researched more, but it is giving me a lot of advantages of using store procedures, of which we'll be using. So the main advantage of store procedure are given below. Like you can see, the first advantage is better performance, and they are telling us here the procedure calls are quick and efficient, as stored procedure are compiled once and stored in executable format. And the other thing is high productivity, the ease of use, scalability, and maintainability and security. These are the features that you will see that while we are doing the project, and these are very, very good. And because these one are the advantages that you get over using pure queries. And you can come here, read more about store procedures, and in here I just want to show you how store procedure will look like. So for example, we need to create a store procedure that will do this query here. So what we'll do, let me type here now. You can say something like create procedure like that. Let me call it procedure, and this time we'll call this, let's say, get all patients. We call this, let me use small letter, get all patients. Let me first of all push this here, and here I need to add get all patients, something of the sort, patients. And again now, actually let me first of all remove this because it won't appear well, or it won't work the way I want. So inside here now I write get all patients, and again now in here we can say get all patients, and here we can use keyword as, and then we can create this query now that is select all, or let's say name and description, and again, or admission number. It is admission number, is not description. Admission number here, and it is from patients table, just like that. And that's is okay. And you can even write end, or it is not a must, you can write. And this one now you can run it in your database and it will store this store procedure in here. And now this one would be kept there as executable, and this one you do it once, and now querying the data will be very fast, because when we need to call this function, the only thing that we need, or if we want to query this patient table and get name and admission, the only thing that we need is to call this function. You already know in our programming we use a lot of functions, and this helps us not to reuse, and it helps us to make our code clean and everything. So the same advantages will come with a store procedure, and you can relate them with the functions in programming languages. So this is what we'll be doing. So now, first thing first, make sure you have installed your Mssql databases and you have somewhere to write the queries so that you can practice and you can see what we'll be doing, and also you can be able to connect. So first thing first, because we have our workbench here, you can open our workbench, and if you have written SQL, the first thing that now we can do, because we need a database and then we start creating tables, the first thing that we need to do is create a database. So we'll have a database, and to create a database you need to use this here, create database, just like that. You can see auto completion here, and our database, we want to call it hospital, just like that. Actually this, let me call it hospital, just like that. So now it's okay, we have this one. And now when you can see here, if we look like we just look here, we don't have the database here called hospital. You can see this medics, and this medics is the database that I built when I was adding, or I was programming the code that, or I was programming the project before we started it again with you. So let me run this command here to create this database that is called hospital. So when you just click this run, it will execute, and after a while it should show you that this command has been completed successfully. So if it is giving here the red text, it means that that query never went correct, and you should run here, or you should read the red commands or the red thing that happened here, and it will give you the error and why the error occurred. So those are some of the things that you should look up into. And now when we just check, now we can look and see we have the hospital. Now to select that, we can just check it and select it. So now we have our databases, we have our database here. And now the other thing that we need to do, we can create tables. So let's create a table. So to create table, you can use create table, just like that. We have this table, and our table, we call them patients first of all. And now in here, we need to specify the columns that you have. So in here, first thing, you need to, or you can just look the command to create the database. And let me just open here, because I had already these commands, because we won't create every command in our code here. So you can see here, this is the command to create the table, and then you can specify the columns that you have in that table. So now what you need to do, you can come here and then create these brackets here, and the first thing that we can have is ID, and that ID we can have auto completion or auto increment for it. So you can have this auto increment, this one that we call identity, and this one, it should be int, just like that. And actually we can say primary, it should be a primary key, just like that. So actually now we can have another column. Another column can be the name of the patient, and this time this one can be varchar or text, and that text you can specify how many text or characters that you want. Maybe you need 300 characters, of which there are many for the word, for the name. And again, what we need to add here, we can have something like, let's say, not null, because we don't want it to be null. This is to say, if we have if we have no value in this name and we want to insert value, it won't accept, our database won't accept if there is no name. So it's not null, and I think we can just have it like that. And let's say we need to have something like, let's say, admission number. So we can have admission number, and we can call, let me add here, admission number, and we can have this admission number as varchar, and we can give it 500 characters, which there are many. We can give it 300, and then you can say it should not be null, so not null. And if we want it to be, it can be null, then we just only add that comma here, and then without adding not null. So we have this not null, just like that. Again, now the other thing that we can have is something like, let's say, status. So status, we can say status, and here now we can say our status is varchar also, and it can have, let's say, characters of 100. And if we want the status, when we are adding the patient to have a status of unknown, the first thing that you should add is default, this default here, and you can say the default, we want it to be unknown. So even if you don't add here, and we can say even not null. So when you're adding our data to this database, and we don't specify anything in this status column here, it will add by default an unknown value, because we have specified here that by default add this unknown, unless you add another, or you specify the value that should be added in the database. So that's all that I want for now, because for now I'm just demonstrating. So now let's look at, let me first of all run this command, so we can run that command. So the other thing that I want to show you is how to just query with the pure queries. So first of all, let me add, maybe we want to select everything or all from patients. So let me query everything from this patient, and to just run this command, I can just select, and I have seen that this technique work for all relational databases. You just select the command that you want to run, and actually this one is it is caps, it should be caps. So let me highlight that and then let us run. And you can see now we have a table, but it has no values. It is just empty because we have not inserted anything. So now if we want to insert, we can come here and we can say insert into patients, or insert into the table. And in here now we can specify how we want our values to be inserted. So we don't have to add this ID because it will have auto completion. The first column here, or the first row, it will be 1. The second column row, it will be 2, like that, and it will auto increment for us without us adding. And we do this because most of the time we need this ID to be unique, and we are using it as a primary key. So now the other thing now we can add here is like name, and again we need to add something like admission number, and status. We don't even need to add status because by default it will be added to unknown. So now we can specify values, and we can say values. You can come here and say values, and now inside here now we can start adding those values. So we can say something like name should be like Jane Doe. We can say Jane Doe, and the second value, it is admission number. So we can say our admission number is something like MVR 1200. So something of the sort. So now if it was an int, we won't add this quotation here. This is to specify that this is a string. And I know you have done this a lot of time because in our coding, string are specified using this quotation here. So now let us run, and to specify, I need to specify to run this command. So now let us run, and you can see it is telling you that one row has been affected. And for now we need to just select this to see if that value will appear in our table. So you can see we have this one here. So you can do this one, and we can insert again, and we'll see how it will be. And actually this time I think we can add even the status, just like that. And the status this time, you can say the status, let's add it will be good, something of the sort. So first of all, let me run this first of all to see the second column or row that has been added. You can see we have added 2, and this ID is auto completed for us. So you can see here it is auto incrementing. So now we need to highlight this command for inserting, and let us run again. So when we are running, you can see now we have one row affected, and now I need to select here all. So you can see we have this, and because we have specified here in our status that it will be, we need to have status as good. You can see it has added this status to be good here. So that's all that we can do. The other thing to select, this is to query all, and then to insert. And the other thing is we can do is to update, and this time I want to update maybe the name. So to update, you need to use this name here, or this keyword update, and we can say update. We can say update patients, something of the sort, and then we can say set name to be, let's say something like James, and we can say where our ID, because you should specify this as condition, where ID, you see we have this ID 1, 2, 3. We can specify this time that this ID, we need to specify the ID that we want to just update the name to be James. So we can give an ID of 2, something of the sort. So we can run this, So let us run. You can see one row is affected, and if we run this again, you see the second row will have name as James now. So you can see we have updated. So the other command that we should look is, let's say we need to delete. So we can come here, and to delete you can use this delete keyword, and we can say from, just like that. We need to have this from, and actually I'm just confused a little bit. So delete from, and this time we need delete from patients. And the other thing that we need to do is to specify where, or we need to give a condition where the ID, because that is the unique thing that we can use to just specify the row, because the other thing cannot be unique. Something like name, admission number, or let's say admission number can be unique. So now the other thing is to specify, maybe we need to delete this patient row now, that where the ID is 2. So we just delete this, and this one will remove this row here, this one here, like James will be, this row with the name as James will be deleted. So now let's select this one here, and then let us run. So let us run this command here for select. So if you look now, we have this row here as 1, and we have this row here as 3. So you can see we don't have 2 here, we don't have that the second column because we have deleted. But these are queries that you can do, and these are pure queries. But now I need to show you how to create a store procedure for these commands here, or these queries here, and I can do it for 2, and then you understand how this works. So now the first thing that we need to do, let us just come down here, and the first command that, or the first procedure we can create this create procedure, and we'll say this procedure, we'll call it call or get all patients, just like that. And now this one will just, actually if you enter, you can see it is giving you other commands, or it is auto completing for you, but I don't need that. So what I'll do, I'll just undo first of all, and then let me give space and then enter. And in here I can do as, remember in here in our diagram here, I showed you how you can write it. You have this as, and then the queries that you want to be done every time when you call this function. So now inside our workbench here, the other thing that we can do, I'll just copy this one because I don't want to keep on typing. So copy this and paste it here. And remember, one thing is that everything that we are doing here can be done to any SQL server or SQL language, that is, might be MySQL, or it might be the Postgres. And you can search, like you can search something like, let's say, store procedures in something like Postgres SQL, or you can search something like MySQL store procedure and things like that. So it's not only for this SQL server or Microsoft SQL server. So now the other thing that we need is to copy this, and then actually to highlight this command, and then let us run. You can see it has run. So don't worry if it has this squiggly that is red, so don't worry, it will work. So now to call the function or this procedure here, the thing that we need to do is to write exec and then the name for that store procedure, like that. So this one here. So now copy this here, and then, or highlight it and then run it. You'll see it will show us the table here. It will run as if we have run this query. So let us run, and you can see it is giving us this table here. That is like magic, because for a very long time I didn't know that you can create functions for your databases, and this one can look as if we are doing the same thing with creating these queries here, but it is not. It is very efficient. It is very efficient for us, and these are one of the things that will work for you, and these are things that will make your programming and your application really, really efficient and fast, and you will create a lot of you create a good application, that is. And these are things that I don't see most videos in emphasizing, and they are very important. This one we have done it a lot of times in corporate world, where we are programming for the companies. So we create stop procedures to make the application secure, fast, and efficient. So the other thing that I just want to show you is how we can create a stop procedure for inserting. And in here, you can give some space, and then I want to just push this down. So here you can look at how we can push it. So in here now, actually, the other thing that I can do is to remove this table so that we can have space. This create table here so that we can have some space. So now here we need to have this create stop procedure or create procedure. So create procedure, and this procedure will say create patients. And now the other thing that we need for this one, because we need to insert like name, admission number, and even status, of which status can be there or not. The other thing that we need to do is to specify this name and admission as variables. And to specify that way, we need to add like this @ sign here, and we can say name. The other thing that we should specify is the type of this name here, or the variable, and this time we call nvulture, or you can even call vulture. It is not you can do it the way you want. And again, you can have a comma, and the other variable that we need to add is admission number. So we can have admission number as our variable, and this time this one is an int, just like that. So we can have that, and now we can say as, just like that. And then remember, we need the query. So this query we can copy it. So copy it and then paste in here, just like that. So because we need now this one to be accepting the variables or values that we'll be specifying as name and admission. In here, let me first of all remove this status. So in here, the only thing that we need to add is those variables. So we can add at name and at admission number, just the same way you have called them here. So that's all that we can do. So now we can just come here, and now we can just run it. So you can see we have run it, and don't be confused by this red squiggly, they are not errors. So now to call this one here, it will be exec, and then we can call it create patients. And again, now we need to specify the name here. So we can specify this name to be, let's say, density. Let me call it density do actually. And again, here the other thing we can do is to add a comma here, and then the other one is admission number. So admission number, yeah. And again, in here you can add something like MVR and then 007 or 007, just like that. So that's all. And when you copy this, first of all, or let me first of all run this. So let us run that. So you can see we have that table here, and it has 2 rows. So now let us run this stop procedure for inserting a patient in our database. So when you run, you can see we have some error here. So, and these errors, you can see these ones are coming because here I specify this as int, and it should be a vulture, so, or a string, that is. So what you need to do now, just because we want to just change this to be a vulture or a string, we need to drop this stop procedure, or to delete the stop procedure. So what we can do to delete the stop procedure, we just drop, we can use this keyword drop, and we need to drop procedure here, and the procedure that we need to drop is create patience, just like that. So we can now drop this one here, so just delete this or drop it as the SQL says. So actually here it is capital P. So copy this one here or highlight it and then run it. You can see now we don't have that, we won't have that create patient stop procedure. So now the other thing that we need to do, we need to here to change this, because this we did as error. So we can call it end vulture, and this end vulture we can specify that it will have like 300. So now we can just create this, or we can run this stop procedure here now and see if we will have error. So we have this error, could not find this. Actually, yeah, because we have not run this one here. So run this first of all. So you can run it and then come here and run it, this one here, stop procedure for inserting, and this time you can see we have that row inserted. So if we come here and run this stop procedure for querying everything from our database, you can see here we have this row added here, this one here. You can see it is still auto incrementing for us, because remember we deleted the second row here. So now the other thing that we need to do is to create this one for update, and it is very simple. I know now you have that the crew. So create now stop procedure or procedure, and this time procedure, and this time we call it update patient. Actually it is update patient or patients. You can call it the way you want, as long as you are able to recognize the name that you called that procedure. So now inside here you can see in our update we need to have this ID here specified. So we need to add this as a variable, because we'll be using this ID will be changing depending on the ID that we want to change, or depending on the ID of the column or the row that we want to change something like name. So now you can come here and write at ID, and ID is int. Remember, it is an int, just like that. And then you can say as, and then in here now we can copy this update here, just like that. Copy it and then paste it here. And this time now we can just add here, can update. Actually it should have two, because we need to give it the value to update and the ID. So in here we can add this name. This one should be a name. So add at name here. We can have at name, and then we can specify that it is a character. So we can have inverter, and then we can have something like 200 and then a comma and our ID here. So now we can come here and specify that this one should be at name, or the value that we give when we are calling this function. So and here this one will be at ID. And remember, this now is like how you accept parameters and arguments in a function. So let's copy or let's highlight this and then let us run it. So you can see it is running in here. So actually I can remove this one here, because I need to create some space. And actually I can now show you. You can see it has run, and to run now this the procedure, remember we use exec, and then in here we can say something like get or create update patients or patients here. And the first thing that we need to specify is a name. A name that we need to specify is like, you can say something like for this time let me add John Doe, something of the sort. And ID, our ID should be 4 because that is the last column or the last row that we have. So let's create this. Actually, this, don't forget to have at sign here before that to specify that that is a variable or it is a parameter or argument. So now let's highlight this and then run it. Actually, let me highlight it again here, and now let us run it. So if you run it and then we carry this or we write this, we specify that we want to run this get all patients, you see here, let me have that, and you can see we have just updated it, but now we are updating using store procedure. So the last one, because I want you to grasp the concept, is for delete, and with delete that one, so that the fourth or this here, the ID, the table or the column, that the row that has an ID of 4. So what we'll do, so first of all, let me push this down here, and again here we can say create procedure. Let me call it here create procedure, and this time is we call it delete patient, just like that, delete patient. And again in here we need to just specify the ID because we need this ID to specify the ID so that this procedure will know which row to delete. So now this one is int, and now the other thing that we can do is to add this as keyword, and then inside here now we can run this command, this delete from patient, where ID is, it will be specified as ID argument that we are adding in our store procedure. So in here, but this time because it will be varying, we will call this at ID that will be getting here when we are calling this function as an argument or as parameter. So now actually this I've write with caps, it should be small. So now we can highlight this and then run it. Can see it has run successfully. So the other thing that we can do here now is to call it, so exec, and now this time we need to delete patient and then just specify the ID, and this time we need to specify ID, don't know why I'm writing with caps, so as 4, just like that. That's okay. Now it will know that when we exec this function here, it will just delete that function. It will just delete the row with this or is this ID of 4, because here it knows that this is a function that is accepting ID as a parameter or as an argument. So now let us run this command here. So when you run that command, you can see one row is affected. So the other thing that you need to do is to come here in this exec here and then run that. So let us run now. You can see now we won't have that row here that has an ID of 4 because we have deleted, but this time we have deleted using the ID of 4, that is. So now I think you have understood what store procedure are and SQL in general. It is not a very hard data thing to do, and it is very efficient. So now the other thing that I need to do is to drop that table, because we now start working on our tables that we'll use in our project, that will have more columns and many rows. So now let me drop a table, and this table is called patients. So just like that, yes. Okay, now let us drop that. And now we can't have that table again. Even if you try again, it will tell you that that table doesn't exist. So now let us remove this command now. So I had already prepared these tables because I didn't want us to spend a lot of time creating the tables, and I just wanted to just demonstrate just like I have done, and then we just run those commands here, or those commands to create our tables. So in here, I think this one is for the tables, or this one is for store procedures that we learn. Actually, we have done with this. So let me close this notepad here that has a file that will help us connect with our database. So in here now, we can come here and run this command, or let us run all of them, because now you know how to create tables, because we have these 4 tables, and you can attest to that because we have already created our backend and you saw what things that will be doing. Even we have 4 routes that you'll be using. So now let us create that here. So you can see we have these ones here. You can see here we have them. So now I need to run all of them here because we don't want to spend a lot of time doing repetitive work. So I will just specify this here, or I will just add this here as to a documentation, because we want to create a documentation for us. So first of all, let us run, and here we need to just have this here so that we can see if they have been run successfully. So yeah, you can see now we have run that table, and you can have a look at our hospital here, and you'll see we'll have our 4 tables. I think here you can be able to see. Actually, it's not this one, so it has oh, it's okay, it has already run, so we won't spend a lot of time looking at those tables. It will waste a lot of time. So now the other thing that I told you is that in our backend here, and in this folder here, we need to specify or to just document those as a tables, because if you're working with a team of developers, they need to know how your table are being structured and the data that you're accepting in your tables as columns. So now here we need to just add a file, and this time I'll call it table or tables, and it will be a type SQL. Yeah, and you can see my VS code is it is accepting SQL because I have added an extension of SQL. And if you haven't added that, you can just come here to extension, search for SQL, and then run or install that extension for SQL or SQL Server. It's the same. So now you come here and let me paste, because we had already added we had already done that, or we had already copied the tables. So the other thing that I want to add here, because we'll be using store procedures, another thing that I want to document is our store procedure. So we create here store procedure. Let me add here as store procedure. I want to document that because this one helps a lot for you, and if to send to other teams of developers that you are working with, or the other developers that you are working with. So now we have store procedures, and I had already created a store procedure here. So right now I know you understand what store procedure means, and here now we just copy one by one, adding them. So we have this store procedure here, and this one will call, it is called a diagnosis here. So now we can copy this here, actually this, and you can see how big it is because it will adding a lot of columns. So let me copy it. Actually, I just copy it from here to here, and then copy it in our workspace. So in here, I'll just select everything and delete, and then paste the procedure. So now the other thing that we can do is to uncomment this here, actually no, should be, let me remove that. So it should be here. So let me come down here and then uncomment, and then uncomment this also. Don't know why it is behaving that way. So remove that and remove that. So now let us run this. So we can run it just like that, and see. Now we have that procedure that is called add diagnosis. This is one of the things that we do. And now to document, the only thing that we will do first of all, because we have already these procedures here, we just copy everything here, and then let me first of all come up here, and then now we can copy this, and inside our file here, this one for documenting stop procedure, I did them here, and I have commented them with these two dashes. This is to, and this is to comment. So you can see all these stop procedures. And because I'll be pushing my code into GitHub and add that link to description of this video, you can go there and look at these stop procedures. And it is not a must that you create your own stop procedure. You can just check in my GitHub and then run these stop procedures for you, or for you, and see how it will work for you. So I will be adding this file. This file, you get it in my GitHub, because I'll add a description link or source code link in a description of this video. You'll go and check for on this folder here called db, and you see all these stop procedures there. So don't worry, it's not a must that you create all those stop procedures. So the other stop procedure that we need here is this one for update diagnosis. So we just copy it here, copy this one here, copy it, and then paste it here. Sorry, so let me remove everything and then paste that and comment this one here. So let us run this. So just like that, then remove it. So this one, now we are adding stop procedures. And the other thing that I want to tell you is that don't run this stop procedure before you run this command for tables. You'll come here, first of all, create these tables you can just copy everything and then run the way, just run the way you have done, but make sure that you understand what you are doing before you do that. So that's what I wanted to show you there. So now the other thing is we have updated diagnosis. Now we have to get diagnosis for the user, because we need to get the diagnosis that will be specific for that patient, because we want when the patient logs in our application, it will fetch the diagnosis that user have. So that's why we are adding this here, this stop procedure for getting all the patient diagnosis that patient has, or treatment that patient have, because you can see here we are specifying emails as a parameter, and then after that, now we are saying inside this table that is diagnosis, where patient email is equals to email, that will be specifying this email will be getting when the user sign in, so that now it will go into our database and look if that patient has any diagnosis, and then it will fetch that data or that treatment and now it will display it to that user in the front end, in the dashboard that is for the patient. So now let us add that again in our workbench here, or in our workspace. So let's add that. So uncomment this one here. So now let's copy this, highlight it, and then run it. So we have done that. Now we need to come here now, run this one here for check diagnosis here. So this one here, check diagnosis, what we'll do, it will just check if the email has been sent to, because remember, we'll be sending emails Actually, it is here. We'll be sending the emails when the diagnosis have been done or treatment has been done. So what it will be doing, this one will be this create procedure and check diagnosis. This will be carried out or will be run by our background services, because our background services will be looking for the diagnosis that email has not been sent. Because if email will not have been sent, this column that is called is sent will have a 0. That's why we are checking, and after we check, we just send the email to that patient and tell them that in the patient email, and then it will tell them that they have received they have received this treatment. Or the email it can be any email. It can be email for that person who is a guardian, or maybe somebody who checks that patient, so that they will be notified every time that patient get that treatment, that is. So now let us run this. That's why we have this check diagnosis. It goes step by step, though, so don't worry. We see where this one will be relevant in our background services. So just run that command, and then let us remove it. So we go to the next one here. I'm just going slowly because I want you guys to understand what I'm doing. So now here you can see update diagnosis and send email. This is after now our background services have checked for the diagnosis that the email have not been sent. It will send the email and then update the status of is sent to 1, because the next time that background services will be running, it won't send the emails, or it will just check for those diagnoses that have the is sent as 1, meaning that one, or that diagnosis, the email has not been sent to the person relevant. So that's why we are updating, so that when the next time our background services is running, remember our background services is running as continuous but in a scheduled way. Maybe we have scheduled after 1 minute, it should check in database and look if any diagnosis have been made, so that it send the email to the person relevant, and then update that email or that diagnosis to have a column of 0, so that the next time that is running, already it won't select this as a diagnosis that email has not been sent. I think you can understand that. It is a little bit complex, but you can get it, and if you hang in there, you'll understand what I'm saying, or you understand what this one will be for. So let us run that. So let us run that command or stop procedure. So again, now we have this appointment here. So first of all, you need to create this appointment. So copy everything, and inside here in our workspace, let us paste this and uncomment this one here. So uncomment this, and this one is for inserting this appointment in our database. So let us run, and you can see now we have run that. So the other thing now is to come here, and inside here now we can copy this, create our update status, and this one also is update appointment here. It will just be updating the appointment. So remember, again, when we create an appointment, we need to just update, or we need to get that appointment, and then if this column is sent is 0, it will send the email to the doctor telling them that they have an appointment. And again, it will just afterward update that is sent to 1, because the next time our background services will be running, it won't be, or it won't see that appointment the email has not been sent to the doctor. That's why we have this one here. So let us run that. So when you run now, you can see it has added that stop procedure. So that's what we are doing here. And if you are not understanding, you can just email me. We'll have a session with you and I will explain what is happening. So don't worry. So another thing is this one for checking. Yeah, actually now I have this one. This stop procedure should be up here because we need to check for that appointment where the email has not been sent to doctor and then update it after the email has been sent. So I think this one should be above here. So let me copy it. And before, actually, let me copy it from this here, from this check appointment here. So just come here and then before the update, it should check first of all. Yeah. So just like that, then paste it here and remove the comment, this comment here to run because it can run with comments because it will telling our workbench or our database to just ignore this. So let us just run it. So we can see this one is giving us error. So after that, now we can run. You can see it has run. So it will just check for this column in our appointment, and then it will see if we have that column as 0 or that row as 0, and then it will send the email. After it has sent the email, it will update this is sent to 1. That's why we have update appointment that we have run before this stop procedure. So after now it have sent the email, it will just update the appointment to be 1 to have a column of this here, this entry to be 1, so that the next time our stop procedure is our background services is running, then it means it would select that appointment since it will have, it is only checking the entry that or the rows that has an entry in ECENT that is 0, that is. So hopefully you're understanding, and that's why I'm keep repeating. So now let us come here now, and you can see now we are in users. For in users here, we need to get all users. So we have that stop procedure here, and in here now we can paste that. And let me remove this comment again. So you have that appointment here, that patient stop, that users, get all users added. So let us run the other one for signing up or adding the user to our database. So this one here. So copy this and then paste it here. The other thing is to uncomment this. Need to uncomment this here. So let us run that and then can remove everything in here. The other thing here is sign in. So we can copy this because this functionality will be for signing in or login. So let us paste it here. So let me remove this one here and then remove this one here. So run it just like that. And again, the other thing is here in our delete, need to copy this stop procedure here. So copy it, and in here we can add it there and then remove this comments. So in here, then run it and then let us remove that. So the other thing is update user here. So copy this and copy that, and then in our workspace here, let us add it, and then again we need to remove this. So remove this also and then run it. Okay, remove it. It feels like you're doing repetitive, but I just want to make sure that you're getting everything, or you'll be able to understand. So copy this one here. This one is for get doctors because need to have this query for getting doctors. So the other thing is to remove the comments, run it. Okay, remove it again. So in here now we are almost now over. So now copy this again, this one here. And if you feel like you have understood now, you can speed the video and do it yourself, because this is not that not necessary, especially if you already have understood this concept. So copy this again here. So let me push forward, upward, and then let me add it here. Remove the comments here and here, and then run it. So remove everything here. The other thing is come here. I think the last one is here. So add this one for adding patient. It's just here. So copy this. So we are almost there. So let me add this here. So remove these comments here. Remove that comment, remove this comment, remove this comment here, and this one here. So this one is for adding patient, and you can see we have specified the rows that we want to add the entries. So let me add them, or let me run, and everything will be okay now. So remove that, and then inside here now we need to run this one for the update, for the updating the patient status actually. So now inside here, the other thing that we can do is to add that, and again let me remove that comment. So now let us remove again. So you can see all procedures that we are requiring here. There are many, but every store procedure has its own function. So you can see now we are almost completing this here. So remove this, and then remove this, and then run it. You can see we have already we have this object named delete patient. So I think that we have already run it. So the other thing is let's come here, and to get all patients, so we can copy this here, copy it and add it here, and add it here, and then remove that patient here. So run it. Is already, so we have already created this one here. So you can see it is telling there's already an object named get all patients. So we have run up that. So this one is for checking now, because remember we need to send the email when the admission have been done. So for that patient, that is, so this one here is for checking, and every row or every column, every table that will have emails being sent, we have this here as a column for eSend, so that we can identify if the email has been sent based on the entries in that row. So we have added that. So the other thing is now this one, and this is the last one here. So copy it here and then paste inside here now. So paste it and then remove the comment here, just like that, and then run it. So just like that. So that's all the tables and the comment that you need, and stop procedure that we needed to document. So first of all, we can do something like select all from, let me see, diagnosis. Actually it is diagnosis. I think that's okay. I think that table is called that, the name there. So you can see we have like this table. They are all empty because we haven't added any data. Or you can see we have this column that I was telling you. This one will help us to send the email and then update the email if we don't, if to update the status is sent to 1 if that email has been sent. So that's okay now. So the other thing now we need to do is now to specify the the database name, the password, and everything in our config file, in our .env, because in here you can see we have this here, that is process.env and db user. We are using .env because we want to hide the user, your username, and then the password, and the password for the database and the database here. So when you be using the code, if you just copy this one here, you need to create your own .env here, and things that you specify inside here are things like db user. So let me copy this. So copy it here. So inside here now we can specify the db user here, and my db user for me is SA. And again, .config here, the other thing is this one. So copy it here, and then inside .env here we can add this one, and my password I'll add it in a few minutes. So let me first of all specify the db name here. So copy this and then paste it here, and I know everybody knows my db name, and my db name here is hospital, you can remember. So the name for the db, for the database, this is the password that you create when you be logging in the system or the server for this database. For me, I have created this in my here. I have stored it here because I don't want it to lose, so to get lost. So it is this one here. So I have created it, or I have stored it here. So now the other thing that you need to do is to just add it here. So we have added it there. So that's all. Now we have connected with our database using this config file here, and because it is running in our localhost, we have installed. If you haven't installed, kindly install, and then you can just take documentation of how to do that, and how to create the db user, specify that db password and db name, just those, and then it will be okay. Connect with the database, and then I know right now I will just have these files here, this file and this file for the table. I'll push them in GitHub, and I'll add that link in this description of this video, so you can just copy these procedures and paste to save on some time and to save time. So I know now you have understood relational databases, store procedure, and you have seen the schemas that we have done, and now we have this documentation here now. So that's all that I wanted to do in this video, because in the next video now we'll just start to write logic inside this controller here, and now we continue with our project. So I hope this video has been helpful, and if you have gained something from this video, you can comment down there what you have learned from this video. And I think it has not been that difficult, and if it has been that difficult, you can email me and we have session. I explain to you some of the concepts. So hope guys this has been a good day and you have learned a lot. So without much ado, if you haven't liked this video, kindly like and subscribe, share if you feel like it will be necessary for other people, and then we'll see each other in the next video or the next tutorial, that is day 11, and we continue learning together. So have a great day. See you in the next tutorial.